Thank you. I was looking for the mic, I couldn't find it. So thank you, good morning, and very grateful for the opportunity to be the first man up to take the shine off the ball, so to speak, this morning, and boom up history, as we like to say, in engaging the conversation, on changing conversation, first the thought, then the action. Yes? So it is with humility and pride that I accept this invitation in imagining the many possibilities inherent in being able to do so. First the thought, then the action. Premise on the Cartesian declaration, I think, therefore I am. Thought precedes action, this we accept to be true, but at least in this instance. But what precedes the thinking, the thought? That's the stuff of mystery and dreaming, and that's what intrigues me, and may hold the key to imagining the possibility of changing the conversation. So first to begin, as we like to say, the first challenge we face is accepting the many challenges in seeking to foster change and the idea for same. Assuming that we're able to get past the question of why unscathed, we next have to deal with the question of how. How do we begin to engage the conversation to change the thinking to action change? That is the question, or rather that is the challenge. I intend to begin this investigation from two very specific positions. First, as a Rapso man, of which I've been an exponent for the past 15 years, and secondly, as a Juve man, in which me and my brethren in Tricanal, we've been bringing a Juve band for the past 18 years. So, as a Rapso man and a Juve man, I begin by declaring, right now is the time to testify. Right now is the time to rectify. Rectify the rights and right the wrongs. Right now is the time to bring it down. Bring down the power, bring down the vibes, bring down the word and the rhythm and the rhyme. Right now is a war for we hearts and minds. Yes, this is the re-evolution time. So tell them, I am the change I want to see. I am the change I have to be. I am the power and the glory. I am the re-evolution. I am a Rapso man. And I believe in the power of the word and the power of the rhythm, as it was in the beginning. For it is said in the beginning was the word, the sound, the vibration, the rhythm, and then there was light. So I am a Rapso man representing in the power of the word and the power of the rhythm for the edification of the children and the healing of the nation, in tradition of the oral tradition and the living vibration. In the tradition of the griot and the chantwell and the kaiso man and the calypsonian and the soca man, I'm a Rapso man. It is from this position that I speak in this moment. Ever mindful that the word has the power to create and or destroy, for this is what we believe and how we believe it. It is said in an ancient African poem about the weaver and the smith that the weaver weaves the word and the smith forges it. So we are careful with the word, for it is that which glues time into eternity. It is the deliverer of knowledge, the transport of meaning. So guard what leaves your mouth or does not, lest your descendants echo your confusion. So as Rapso warriors on a mission, we are ever mindful of our responsibility to be careful, if not impeccable, with our word, while at the same time being very mindful of our duty to be true to ourselves in pursuit of our truth, and to always speak that truth to power and power to possibility. So, as it was in the beginning, Rapso man say, don't afraid your power, don't afraid yourself, don't afraid to find your voice and question the order and challenge and discover your fire and your reason for being right now, but most of all, don't afraid what we may be. For that has always been our challenge. As Martin Carter said in his poem, Our Time, the more the men of our time we are, the more our time is. Our challenge has always been to be true to ourselves and our purpose and our time, and to seek out the meaning of the time that we live in, and to make a statement about what time it is and what's going on. For the more we pose the question what time it is and what's going on, the more we discover where we at, or where we are, and what may be required of us. So the more the men of our time we are, the more our time is. So like it or not, conscious or unconscious, we all making and shaping our time right now. in our thoughts and in our words and in our actions and in our choices. We are all making and shaping this space right now. All 7 billion of us right now. Which brings me to the next position from which I speak to you today. Because I am a Rapso man, but even before that, I am, or to be more appropriate in this context, I is a Juve man. And as a Juve man, I've come to understand time and again to be not afraid. In the middle of the madness and the chaos and the confusion that is a Juve morning, be not afraid. When all the denizens of hell rise up and turn the whole world upside down, be not afraid. And I've learned to seek stillness, to dive deep into self, beyond self, into the abyss, into the unknown. For the Juve is the realm of the mythical and the archetypical and the fantastical, a dreaming space, a healing space, a dreaming, healing, revealing space. And in this space, we get an opportunity to connect to something deeper than ourselves, something more visceral, something that precedes us and would most likely outlive us. In this ritual Juve space, we get to connect to a grounding or a touchstone or a constant. And as we are warned to be careful with the word, so we are urged by Lao Tzu in the Chinese book of philosophy, the Tao Te Ching, to be mindful of the constant in all we do, as he says, I do my utmost to attain emptiness. I hold firmly to stillness. The myriad creatures all rise together and I watch their return. The teeming creatures all return to their separate roots. Returning to one's roots is known as stillness. This is what is known as returning to one's destiny. Returning to one's destiny is known as the constant. Knowledge of the constant is known as discernment. Woe be unto him who willfully innovates while ignorant of the constant. The Juve is our constant. And that's why every year for the past 18 years we seek to serve this constant. In the same spirit of those who came before us every year for the past 177 years, which is a long time given our history. Every year we've claimed the streets in ritual celebration of freedom and emancipation, because that is what this Juve is. It was on the moment of emancipation in 1834 that this festival came into manifestation and became known as the Camboulet, or the Juve, the new day. Oh Lord, the glorious morning come. Oh Lord, the glorious morning come. Sang our recently freed ancestors as they claimed the streets with their drums and their bois and their torches, and rather than burn down tongue in savage retribution, as was the expectation of their masters or their former masters, rather than resorting to mayhem and murderation, they instead formed themselves in military precision into ranks and division, and sang songs of liberation and affirmation and defiance. Thousand, 10,000 to buy me one. 10,000 to buy me one. On this Juve morning, it go take 10,000 to buy me one. It's a new world, it's a new day, it's a new order. So every Juve morning we claim the streets and claim the space to turn the whole world upside down and get down in at one ment with rhythm and dance ourselves into being again and again and again. For it is in the act of claiming the streets and coming together and stripping off and laying ourselves bare one to the other in submission to the rhythm that we discover the most sublime moment in the carnival, that is the Juve. And in this moment, we come to recognize that all time is now, and contains within it the magic moment where the I becomes the we, or as we like to say, where all are we is one. And we get to realize the truth of the old African saying, I am because we are. So looking at the world through the twin lenses of the Rapso man and the Juve man, I am forced to accept in all humility time and again that I am human. And like all humans, I seek to be understood and to understand. And that is why every year around this time we ask ourselves the question what time it is and what's going on. Not only to figure out what's going on right now, but what is to come. And as we prepare for another ritual turn of the cycle, we ask ourselves again, what's going on? Look around the world. What's going on? It's crisis after crisis. Crisis and more crisis. Crisis in your crisis. Systemic, climatic, dogmatic, dramatic, idiomatic, axiomatic, automatic for the people. Crisis in your crisis. Like a luminamageddon. Pedagogical, ideological, psychological, spiritual, fiscal, mental, emotional, moral, ethical, all kind of crisis. We live in a crisis. Turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. And so we see in the world today more and more people waking up to this reality, that this thing ain't working. More and more in the world today, we see people ready to forge a new reality, frame a new compact, draw up a new social construct. More and more in the world today, we see people rising up and demanding change, serious change. Not no cosmetic or superficial change, but critical, crucial, human change. And it would seem more and more in the world today that more and more people are waking up to the demands of what our time is. In the words of Martin Carter, where he says, the more the men of our time we are, the more our time is. But always we've been somewhere else, muttering our mouths like holes in the mud at the bottom of our trenches, looking for what is not anywhere or certain. Is it just a misfortune to be as we are? Bad luck? Carefully chosen? In parallel seasons, if rain is any hour, if trees abandoned wind, what of the others? Badly abused, we fail to curse. Our fury pleads, yet fury should be fire, if not light. And what is the mother of fury, if not ours? For any man and any time, one dream is enough. This is true. For any man and for any time, one dream is enough. This is true. But we're further instructed by Martin Carter in his poem, Looking at Your Hands, as the exact intent and the nature of the dream that we dare to dream, when he says, no, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. So if you see me looking at your hands, listening when you speak, marching in your ranks, you must know that I do not sleep to dream, but dream to change the world. And right now in the world today, we see more and more people waking up to the reality that one dream is enough, and that dream can change the world. As we see more and more everyday people rising up one by one and finding their voice and claiming the streets and making a statement one by one, occupying the streets, occupying the squares, occupying their public spaces with their signs and their banners and their placards in an attempt to be seen and heard and considered. One by one, every day we see people claiming their fury and turning it into fire in the hopes that that fire becomes a light. Just like on that first Camboulet Juve morning when our former ancestors processed in the hope and the promise of a new day and a new time and a new possibility. By claiming their fury and turning it into fire, and turning that fire into a light, and shining that light in defiance of the darkness that surrounded them, secure in the knowledge that out of the darkness must come light, which is another enduring metaphor of the Juve. So, in concluding, our time demands that for it to be, we must be. So if it's change we want to see, then that change we have to be. And if we want to change the here and now, we have to act right here, right now. And as we said in the beginning, if we wish to change the conversation towards changing our thinking to action change, we have to start on the level of our believing, or imagining, or dreaming. For it is said, everything springs from the intent. And if we accept this to be true, well, then the choice is clear, and the way is assured if we dare. But first enough, we must be brave enough to start with self, and bold enough to believe in self, and strong enough to withstand the slings and arrows of self-doubt and contempt of self in our attempts to do so. In other words, don't afraid yourself. You ready? Right now is the time to testify. Right now we come out to rectify. Rectify the rights and right the wrongs. Right now we come out to bring it down. Bring down the power, bring down the vibes, bring down the word and the rhythm and the rhyme. Right now is a war for we hearts and minds. This the re-evolution time, so tell them I am the change I want to see. I am the change I have to be. I am the power and the glory. I am the re-evolution. I am the change I want to see. I am the change I have to be. I am the power and the glory. I am the re-evolution. No afraid. Thank you.